Imagine selling your soul for eternal youth. What if your deepest, darkest secrets were etched not on your face, but on a canvas, a silent witness to your moral decay? This is the unsettling premise of Oscar Wilde's The Picture of Dorian Gray, a novel that continues to fascinate and disturb readers over a century after its publication. Welcome back to Ace Book Talk. Today, we're diving into this cornerstone of Gothic and philosophical literature. Oscar Wilde, a name synonymous with wit, decadence, and social critic, was one of the most celebrated figures of the late Victorian era. Born in Dublin in 1854, Wilde was a literary prodigy, excelling in classics and quickly establishing himself as a leading voice in the aesthetic movement which championed art for art's sake. His plays, essays, and poetry were known for their dazzling prose, satirical observations, and embrace of beauty as the highest ideal. The Picture of Dorian Gray, published in 1890, is Wilde's only novel and arguably his most enduring work. It explores themes of beauty, morality, hedonism, and the corrupting influence of societal expectations. The book was met with both acclaim and outrage upon its release, condemned by some for its perceived immorality and celebrated by others for its artistic merit. The story centers around Dorian Gray, a strikingly beautiful young man whose portrait is painted by Basil Hallward, a talented artist who becomes infatuated with Dorian's beauty. During a sitting, Dorian meets Lord Henry Wotton, a witty and cynical aristocrat who espouses a philosophy of hedonism, encouraging Dorian to embrace pleasure and live life to the fullest, regardless of the consequences. Intoxicated by Lord Henry's words and terrified by the prospect of aging and losing his beauty, Dorian makes a fateful wish that the portrait would age and bear the marks of his sins, while he remains forever young. His wish is granted. As Dorian embarks on a life of pleasure and indulgence, the portrait becomes a grotesque reflection of his moral decline. He engages in countless acts of selfishness, cruelty, and depravity, all while his outward appearance remains untouched. The portrait, hidden away in a locked room, becomes a visual record of his sins, a constant reminder of the price he has paid for eternal youth. One of the key events in the novel is Dorian's relationship with Sybil Vane, a young actress with whom he falls deeply in love. He is captivated by her talent and her ability to embody different characters on stage. However, when Sybil's acting suffers after she experiences genuine love for Dorian, he cruelly rejects her, telling her that she has ruined his ideal of her. Distraught by his rejection, Sybil commits suicide. This marks a turning point for Dorian, as it is the first time he truly confronts the consequences of his actions. He sees the portrait change, reflecting the cruelty he has displayed towards Sybil. Instead of learning from his mistake, however, Dorian chooses to further embrace his hedonistic lifestyle, justifying his actions by claiming that he is simply living according to the principles of aestheticism. Over the years, Dorian becomes increasingly isolated and paranoid, haunted by the ever-changing portrait and the weight of his sins. He attempts to alleviate his guilt through acts of superficial kindness and charity, but these efforts are ultimately futile. The portrait continues to worsen, reflecting the growing darkness within his soul. Basil Hallward, increasingly concerned about Dorian's well-being, confronts him about the rumors surrounding his scandalous behavior. Dorian, enraged by Basil's accusations, murders him in a fit of anger and then enlists the help of an acquaintance to dispose of the body. Driven to the brink by guilt and despair, Dorian finally confronts the portrait, which has become a horrifying image of his true self. He blames the portrait for ruining his life and, in a desperate attempt to regain his lost innocence, he stabs it with that knife he used to kill Basil. When Dorian's servants break into the locked room, they find the portrait restored to its original beauty. On the floor lies the dead body of an old, withered man, recognizable only by the rings on his fingers as Dorian Gray. The picture of Dorian Gray is more than just a Gothic horror story, it's a profound exploration of morality, beauty, and the consequences of unchecked hedonism. The novel teaches us that true beauty lays not in outward appearance, but in inner character. Dorian's pursuit of pleasure and his rejection of moral responsibility ultimately lead to his destruction. The portrait serves as a powerful symbol of the soul, revealing that our actions have consequences, whether we choose to acknowledge them or not. Wilde's masterpiece reminds us that we cannot escape the truth of who we are, and that ultimately we must all face the consequences of our choices. It serves as a timeless warning against the dangers of vanity, selfishness, and the pursuit of pleasure at all costs. The book suggests that living a life guided by principles, empathy, and a sense of responsibility is far more valuable than chasing fleeting pleasures. The portrait, in its gruesome transformation, reveals the inescapable truth that our inner selves will eventually manifest outwardly, regardless of our attempts to conceal them. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of the picture of Dorian Gray. If you enjoyed this analysis, please like and subscribe for more book recommendations.